Welcome to the website Credibility Evaluation Lesson and Resource. I have developed this lesson as a one-stop shop for both teachers and students so that you all can come back to it and use it however you feel the need. Additionally, this site is mobile friendly, so if you're on a device or you would like to use it on a device, it really does kind of take the form of an app. So it works really well on devices as well. So if you're watching this video, you've already accessed the Educator Guide. I just want to pull it up and show you what it has there just in case. So it is password protected, so students can't access the Educator Guide. The password is teachers are cool. I tried to come up with something that no kids would ever guess. If this is hard for you to read, it is kind of small here. You can zoom in and it'll show you a little bit easier version to read here. So the basic outline of the lesson that I'm doing with students is I'll do a little bit of a pre-teach of just what we're doing, why we're doing it. I show a vocabulary source evaluation video. You will need an account. There's a free trial for 30 days that you could use for the purpose of this lesson and to introduce the topic. The big piece of this is the personalized learning. Students have choice in how they want to dive in and learn the basics and apply their knowledge within this interactive lesson. So the personalized learning is a big piece, and I'm going to show you what that looks like in just a minute. After the personalized learning, we'll come back together and discuss some takeaways and any more questions that they have, and then direct students to bookmark the resource so they can get back to it. And the final challenge is a GimKit game. If you haven't tried GimKit before, it's pretty cool. It's kind of like gambling for kids. It's like Kahoot, but kids earn money instead of points. And what I really like about it is that I can actually set up the game so that there's a time. I can tell the kids, okay, and see how much money you can earn in 8 minutes. So the questions that I've created will just keep cycling through, so they'll keep practicing them, and so at the end of 8 minutes, whoever has the most money wins the game. So I can really choose a time period. So if at the end of the lesson I've got 6 minutes left in class, I'll say 6 minutes, and so we won't have any downtime before the bell rings. So that's the gist. If we go back to the main page, you will eventually share the link to this page with students. First of all, to guide them through their learning, I've created a note sheet, which I'm calling a passport, and I'm going to go ahead and preview it to show you. Your kids are, if they click the airplane, it's going to ask them to make a copy, so they'll have it in their drive. The gray sections are where students can click to add their answers. As they're doing their personalized learning, they have a notes section where they can add questions that they have before, during, and after. If they decide to look in the basic section that I'll show you in just a moment, this is where their notes would go and kind of note which ones they looked at and which ones helped. And then when they get to the dive in section, their notes from the dive in section. I would highly suggest that you encourage them to make notes because it will help them later on when they get to the show what you know. So I'm going to scoot back over here. There is a quick introduction for them if they want to go to this. It's just a little blurb as to why and why outside of school. And then it has kind of some silly things that are out on the internet that they can see here. So from here, they can either go back to the main page or they can go ahead and click basics and it'll take them on through. So in the basics, this is the absolute basic stuff they need. So we've got vocabulary in the form of embedded Quizlet. We've got a video that shows just kind of it's like a 2-minute video that the kids can watch to get a gist of evaluating sources for credibility. There's a quick flow chart here just to help them get started with website evaluation. And then one of my favorites on the basics is a list of credible sources to start with. Common Sense Media put this out. It's an amazing list. If they're not using databases, or if you want to give them the choice not to use a database, this list is a great place to start. They've got trustworthy news sources, they've got kid-friendly and student-friendly news sources, And then down at the bottom here, they've got places for primary and secondary sources. So this is a great place to direct students to go to. So they can either go back to the main page or they can move on to the dive in. The dive in section is designed to help them take the basics and take them a little bit further. So the first two here are actually just two presentations on, once again, kind of the basics, but it's a different way of looking at it. The stuff in the basics section was a little more broken up, and then in both of these, it's all of that, all the basics kind of mushed together. So depending on their learning style and what works for them, they could either go to this one, which is a slideshow presentation, or use the spider method, and that is a Prezi created by one of my lovely librarians. The next two, I found two articles that I added in here to help students start making a bigger connection to real world ways and reasons we would want to evaluate information for credibility. And then some more resources to help them practice their skills. So this is more of a fake news and evaluating news stations and stories. And then the Evaluate Web Resources infographic is a nice big infographic with a lot of really cool steps and tools to help people evaluate the credibility. So once they've done these, they can choose, I'll direct students to choose a couple and use the ones they'd like to use. Again, they should be making notes on as they go through their learning. The next part is going to show what you know. So this section is where they're going to show what they know by completing some tasks. There are 9 tasks in all. The top 2 are kind of our show your knowledge task. The visual vocab can either be an online thing they create, or you can let them print it off and do it by hand. So this one is a slideshow that they can edit, create a copy, edit for themselves. They will read the vocab words and the examples, come up with their own sentence, and then either use the draw tools to create a picture or find an image that is not the one that's already there. Once they have finished, the last slide actually shows them how to get the share link so that they can add their share link to their notes here, so that if they turn this in, you have access to their work. Let's see. The read and respond is a form that students will read some information and then answer the questions. It is a auto-grade quiz, and if they make a 100 on the quiz when they submit, they do have to put an email address in. It will send them a certificate in the form of an image to their email, and there is also a place for them to insert that image here, so you can see that they've completed this and gotten a 100. And it is set up so that they can take it as many times as they need to. They won't get a certificate until they earn a 100. And then the next 6 are just evaluating and following a prescribed evaluation set of questions. And then the bottom one is kind of the highest on the blooms, where they are evaluating 2 websites to decide if they're hoaxes or not. And then on the notes, it's not as prescribed. They're kind of just telling what they've decided and citing sources from the resource that's been created. So if they choose to do the evaluate on any of those topics, there's spots for 3 topics. They put the URL, the total credibility score, and I'll show you what that is in just a minute, and then there's 2 questions for each one. So within each of those tasks, there are between 2 and 5 website options. So for example, I asked them to choose 3 websites from this list of 5 to evaluate on their notes. On this one, there's only 2, so I told them to evaluate both. So when we go back now, I want to show you what I'm talking about with the credibility number there. So I created this form for students. This is a personal form for students. They'll put their email address in here, And the reason for the email address is just so they can send the results to themselves. So instead of giving them a paper to check off things as they evaluate, I just created this digital one. They'll put their email, they'll put the website title or the URL, and then they'll put the website title. And then these 13 steps will walk them through a basic evaluation of a website. So as they answer, down here you'll see the total reliability score is actually adding up, or it might take away if it's a negative item. So as they're doing this, they're evaluating the website, it's adding up, and so once they've answered all questions, it's going to give them a score. And so they have a score interpretation here too. So if they've got 7 or more points here, it's probably a good resource. If they've got 4 to 6, it might be good, but they probably need to do a little more evaluation into it. And then 3 or less is probably not a good resource to use. Obviously, this form is as good as the evaluator, so make sure students know that just because they click yes and get that score doesn't mean it's actually a good resource. It's just to help them. When they click email results, if they want the results, it'll go straight to the email they've put up here. It doesn't go to anybody else, just themselves. So it's a nice tool. They can use it on any of the tasks on the Show What You Know, or if you want them to turn in a reliability score and explanation for each source they use, you could do that as well. So that's pretty much all of it. You're welcome to use this how you'd like, have kids return to it, make it a one-day lesson, whatever works for you and your kiddos. I hope you enjoy it.